So hello guys, you're welcome back. We're going to be talking about currency devaluation and also try to give reasons why some countries decide to devalue their currency. I mean, devaluation in simple terms refers to a situation where a country deliberately reduces the value of its currency. Take for example, South Africa deliberately reduces the value of the South African rand. The United States deliberately reducing the value of the United States dollars. Nigeria, for example, deliberately reducing the value of the Nigerian naira. That's basically what devaluation refers to. Historically, many countries around the world have devalued their currency, and today we're going to try to understand why they actually take that policy step. Now, let's assume you're in Nigeria, Lagos, Nigeria, and you own a small business delivering, let's say, cooked meals, and you want to maximize your profit. You want to design a rate card for your service. Your charges would be between the lowest price you are willing to provide your services at and the highest price you think customers will pay to get your services. Customers will be willing to pay an amount that they can spare so they don't have to cook their meals, right? I mean, that's just the economics of it. To increase your sales, you would want to slash your prices where possible. In other words, you will be devaluing your currency. That is me in quotation now. I'm just saying that you will be devaluing. Imagine you have a currency. You will be devaluing your currency, which could increase your sales, reducing your price to increase your sales. And of course, more customers will come relying on your product. You sell more, they buy more because your price is now slashed down. In a very similar way, devaluation occurs when a country's government want to increase their trade balance. In doing so, the government adjusts its currency's exchange rate with another country's currency. The government can increase exports by making its currency cheap. I hope you get that. Or it could be a forced act where the currency balance is disturbed because of the pegged currency experiencing an upswing. Nonetheless, the result is that after devaluation, the country would find foreign products more expensive, and that's the idea behind devaluation, and therefore unaffordable, leading to a fall in its import. Don't forget, you won't demand for foreign currency when you are not importing. The more the import, the more the demand for foreign currency. And when your export does not match your import, there's going to be a trade imbalance, right? And that's when you see countries' currency value going down rapidly because they import so much. And of course, the laws of currency, if you want to import anything from, let's say, the United States, you have to import it with the United States dollars. That means the demand for dollars increases as the demand for US product increases, right? So what currency devaluation does is that it makes it very expensive to import, thereby reducing the appetite of the country's citizens of imported items, right? If that happens, most people are no longer buying items that are imported. That means imports will drop, and that also consequentially means the demand for the currency of that foreign country will also drop. That's one of the things devaluation does. So devaluation is when countries intentionally downgrade the currency's value with respect to foreign standards or other benchmarks. When it comes to currency devaluation, the concept is valid only for countries that peg their domestic currency to another currency. For example, like Nigeria using the naira against the dollar, right? Such countries may use devaluation as a means to control demand and supply, and that's what most countries do when they devalue their currency, right? Now, what are the reasons for devaluation? One, to boost exports. Stiff competition in the world market has led to different companies competing. The competition is stiff. So, for example, United States car makers, let's say GE or let's say Tesla, for example, are competing with car makers in other parts of Europe. Now, if the euro gets devalued, buying cars in the US that were manufactured in Europe becomes cheaper. If a currency is more valuable, the exports will become more expensive in the global market. So one of the reasons why currencies are devalued is to boost exports. Two, to narrow down trade deficit. Devaluation of a currency results in an increase in the company's exports and a decrease in imports. So narrowing down the trade deficit and improving the balance of payment. So when you increase exports and you decrease imports, you're trying to strike a balance between both, given a situation where there has been lots of importation and less exportation. So when you devalue your currency, you're going to increase your export and decrease your import, thereby creating what we call a trade balance in situations where there used to be trade deficit. Now, the third reason why countries devalue their currency is to bring down sovereign debt. Now, how does this work? If a country has a massive pile of fixed sovereign debt over a significant period, they may serve as an incentive to follow a weak currency policy. A weaker currency would make the payments cheaper over time if the outstanding debt is fixed. That is, if it is fixed, right? So that's another reason why countries devalue their currency. Now, this is different from revalue. In fact, it is different from revaluation. It is actually the opposite of currency revaluation. Of course, English, devaluation, revaluation. Now, what is currency revaluation? Revaluation can be defined as an upward adjustment to a country's exchange rates for a chosen baseline. Now, the baseline may comprise of foreign currency, gold prices, wage rates, etc. In a fixed exchange rate regime, the government, such as the central bank, can adjust the exchange rate. Developing countries typically would follow this. Now, we have lots of countries that have devalued their currency. So, for example, you have the Colombia peso being devalued. You have the Turkish lira being devalued. You have the Argentine peso being devalued. A couple of other companies, China, right? China has also been devaluing its currency to increase its GDP. And I think in 2016, they tried that, although the United States saw it as a currency war, and the government of President Trump, as at that time, retaliated with some sanctions by imposing tariffs on Chinese goods, such that the value of their currency would increase against the US currency. Right? What are the major disadvantages? Of course, where you have advantages, you will also have disadvantages. The major disadvantage is that it may lead to inflation. Devaluation of currency leads to an increase in prices over a period as imports become more expensive. So that means where you have less imports, and that means the country's manufacturing sector will have to produce enough for the people in the country to use. And most times, there's always not enough. And when you don't have enough production, that means there's less supply. When you have less supply, less supply, the demand is more than the supply. Prices will definitely go up, and that's going to lead to inflation. In addition, as exports become cheaper, manufacturers have less incentives to trim costs, which could also lead to rising costs over time, right? Now, another disadvantage is narrowing down purchasing power of foreign activities. After a country devalues its currency, its citizens may find it expensive to indulge in activities such as travels and tourism, or avail themselves of foreign goods and all of that. So if the naira, for example, is devalued to, let's say, 1,000 naira to $1, to even get payment for school fees, if you want to school abroad, will be a problem. To travel abroad will be a problem. So these are some of the disadvantages. So we've studied the advantages and the disadvantages, and we've also given you the meaning. This is just a brief overview of the concept of currency devaluation. It's good to have this understanding because this discussion has become very common today. We're going to give further discussions on this, talk about trade deficit, trade imbalance, and in details, we'll talk about revaluation of the currency in subsequent discussions. But don't forget to like this post, share. Also, click on the subscribe button. We'll really appreciate that. And if you have questions, please drop them in the comment section. Section will be really ready to answer your questions. Thank you.